What up, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Classic Quest podcast. This is the show where we break down hip-hop projects track by track, giving thoughts and opinions on every single song. Today, we will be talking about JayDaYoungan's Scarred EP. My name is Holden Stephan Roy.
I am your lady friend, Bonnie.
And I am Chris Chrome. What up, guys?
What up, Chris Chrome? And yeah, today we will be talking about Scarred, the new EP from JayDaYoungan that dropped January 21st, 2022. And hello, JayDaYoungan fans. I understand. I understand the moment you may be having here. And that's why we start off the show by going, but let's contextualize our familiarity with the artist and how we came about picking this. And I'll start this out because they're going to say the same shit. I looked for an EP that came out recently, and with pure virtue of album of the year or whatever that website, I saw that this EP dropped on a very recent date, and it had a length of 18 minutes. And I said, yes, this fits all of my criteria for what we're going to do. And without listening to a single song, I clicked and I said, we're doing this one. And now we're here. There are missing lyrics on some of these tracks, so you know that when the lyrics are not there, the review portion goes a little quicker. But that's kind of what we want to do. We want to dig through the crates of life and find music that we are not typically exposed to in some cases and just genuinely consume it and let y'all know what we think of it. So, just in case I'm wrong, did either of you know who JayDaYoungan is before today?
No.
I'm an asshole. So I was like, oh, this is some new local kid. This is whatever. And then I hit the Spotify and I saw the number of monthly listeners. And I was like, oh, this is some really poppin' kid who's got some okay. And that's kind of how I went into this project like this. That's the dead honest truth.
Facts. So JayDaYoungan fans, you may be surprised by what you get here, but that's what we're coming in. We being candid with
Apologize in advance.
This is a no cap situation is all I'm saying.
Facts.
With that, what did y'all think about the cover and the title?
I like the cover. It just looks like, he's just sitting in an apartment and he's he looks like he's thinking or reflecting, but also maybe in some sort of mental pain or struggles. He's just kind of he just can't even lift his head. It definitely looks honest and raw, and the title Scarred definitely reflects that. It looks like a painful kind of maybe he's mentally scarred or his heart scarred, or kind of more like that sense.
Right.
Yeah.
So I kind of felt like he's praying in a sense, because he's scarred, because he's gone through some shit. But I also get when you look at his drip and you look at kind of where he's at and how stylish he is, I feel like he's scarred from his journey, but he's thankful for where he's at right now. That's kind of what I'm kind of getting from the title and just the what seems to be a little bit lavishness from the photo, but I can also tell I guess
it's
the
lavishness in the gutter though, because
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that was really dope.
And I think the red really exemplifies that, because you figure a red couch is royalty, the red carpet of sorts.
Which just because this is the same episode for at least the Twitch thing, you mentioned red and black in the usage on the last one, and here we got it again.
No, that's not at all the same usage. I meant exclusively red and black in the horror theme.
Fair enough. Anyway, I thought it was cool. I thought it doesn't. The only thing is that it doesn't really tell me much though. Dude,
you just did you not hear everything you told us that it told you?
No, I'm not saying this. I'm not saying this properly. About the project, I guess it doesn't really tell me much. I have to think about it first. On a first glance, I'm okay, you're just kind of there. But when you think about it,
Chris,
I'm
Chris, when you look at this album and you look at the title, are you gonna get a dancing? Are you gonna get a party mood? No.
Nah, you're gonna get some real deal shit. You know
not.
It right away. This guy's about to give you his emotional experiences on what got him to this place, because he's scarred, which to me tells me he's been through something. And I personally find it fascinating when people are willing to share what they've been through. in an honest and candid way. And that's kind of what I feel like the imagery invokes, is that's what we're about to get. Like, this is my soul. And all of what we were saying with the religious metaphor, but it's like a combination of deep pensiveness and praying, right? Because if you look at it, it's almost like the philosopher's pose, but then you just kind of, but it's not really praying either, because I don't find people pray like that. Usually everything's lower. So by raising his hands to his forehead, it kind of creates a more ambiguousness to it. And it adds like a level of like almost like stress and pressure.
Yeah.
Because that's where like the pressure and shit is, you know. I don't know about my
Like maybe he has a
chakras,
headache or
but
something,
if
and
I
he's just
was a
kind of like,
chakra
"Ugh."
speaking motherfucker, it would be like that part. I love his hairdo too,
see.
very stylish. And I do think that it is meant to be this clean drip, this vibrancy in the midst of the dark environment. So it eloquently dictates, I am gotten a level of success and I am scarred because of it. I think it visually communicates a lot. So it's a cool cover. And the title in one word communicates a lot. So it's a powerful title. And I like the brevity in it. Let's get through the track by track. Y'all might not know how it is, but you will find out. It is Scarred time. Hey, Bonnie, what do you think about this song?
So he's just kind of talking about that he is, making moves, he's traveling. While at the same time, he's kind of involved with some illegal sort of business. He wants to kind of make it on his own, and do things his way, because it just seems like the people that he has encountered in the past, maybe kind of playing him or being a little unreliable. He does kind of talk about like some of the drugs that he's on. He does talk, I know he mentions promethazine, I think that's right, which is one of like the main ingredients in Purple Drank, and some lean. So he's kind of touching on all of that. And he kind of talks about that he has sex with girls, if it helps him succeed. Like, he's like, sure, whatever, I'll do anything. Like, I'll sleep with a girl if it gets me like where I need to be. Which is interesting. It's not necessarily something you usually hear from like guys, and not really like anything like super innovative in this song necessarily, but it sounds fine. It sounds good. It's very like typical of like this sounding rap genre, if you know what I mean. So for me, it like my overall feeling, it was that it was an honest song, but not like necessarily an original kind of sound, like in that sense. So I gave it a 4.2 on 5.
I kind of like feel you on the sound. I think at like a first listen of the project, I was like, this is like, I feel like I've heard this type of vibe and stuff. But then really getting into it and really kind of feeling how he uses like the auto tune and some of the effects on it really give this nice emphasis to like building the atmosphere around certain tracks. I want to get that out of the way now because that's like a big part of this project. There is a lot of effects, a lot of auto tune, and if I repeat it, everybody, I'm sorry. But with that being said, I like how the title of the song is called Scarred, and he's giving you like these kind of what I assume are like parallels to some bad things in his life, but some also like some of the good things in his life, but how these two things are like scarring him. For example, in the chorus, when it starts off, I'm on some gangster shit, so I don't talk on cell phones. And it's like that could be like you've been through some gangster stuff. You kind of know some of the codes, some of the way of kind of handling business. So you're scarred with those memories, you're scarred with those experiences. That's why in your like part of life where you're succeeding and stuff, you still kind of act and move these type of ways. He's scarred because it seems like he's dealing with something with like a woman, give her everything, and she just did him wrong or whatnot. So that also could leave you scarred. But like moving forward, but like that's kind of how he goes for it. I like how he gives and pays the respect to the people behind bars, how he's kind of giving them like their anthem with that, and he's kind of speaking for them. So that's also kind of cool as well. And then like with the verse, right? So like ain't no way we going back broke. You know what it feels like to be poor. You don't want to go back to that. That left you scarred. Promethazine got me living my life up in slow mo. Clearly, you're like dealing with some whatever and you're using drugs to cope or however that. What stood out to me is his use of YOLO. And I think the only reason why it stood out is because it's kind of showing the impact in the younger generation. So I looked up how old JayDaYoungan is, and he's 23, born in 98, right? So YOLO came out in like 2012, like the
Anyway, go on.
but like it was cool to me how I was just like, yo, like we don't say that anymore. Like I haven't really heard anybody say
literally
that.
say
like,
YOLO all the time. What do you speak for
but
yourself?
not like
Speak for yourself,
like,
Chris. This
I
is
am
speak for
speaking
yourself.
for myself.
No, you
I mean,
spoke
I
for
don't hear
everyone.
no, I don't really hear people say that. I was saying that I don't. If you do, sure, but I don't think you use it in like a legitimate way, the way that I feel he is, like really only living life
No,
once.
I use it in the exact same way. There's only
Fair
one
enough.
life.
Okay, all right.
Well,
Fair enough. It was just cool to me that it stood around because I don't use it anymore. It's whatever. But moving on with that, the song kind of held on its own. I thought it was cool, and it was pretty short. Like it didn't really have much more than that to it. Yeah, I left it with, it was a nice introduction to it, so I gave it a 4.2 on 5.
I'm like, first time I heard this song, I was like, the fuck am I gonna comment on a bunch of gangster shit? That's not really my life. And I'm like, what am I gonna do? Judge a guy for doing lean? Nah, it's not really the approach for this type of shit. Cause I'm not spectating on somebody else's lifestyle and giving a bunch of social commentary. I've done that in the past. It's not the move here. Instead, there's a musicality to it. I actually love this sound. Like, I fucks with like a lot of the Southern drill flows, like the early kind of rush sound to it, where it feels like every bar is spit like a little bit early, whereas like New York goes a little bit into the
Louisiana.
yeah, and then like New York will be like more in the middle of the pocket. I like that early shit. I like that fucking almost erraticness to the flow. I feel like his melody game is gorgeous. Like this guy really like that's not effects. That's like he sings that shit and the effects are icing on a cake type shit. His precision on every syllable is really good. Like this dude has 10K plus hours is what I hear in that flow. And it's so wonderful to listen to. And then as far as the beat goes, I mean, look, you like it, you don't like it. I understand. It is absolutely in the realms of a standard beat. I think his delivery, though, actually stands out a little bit. In terms of, I've heard a lot of people not do it as good as this. So that's where I'm left with. Like, I've heard a lot of not as good as this that makes me go, oh, this is actually really good compared to all the not as good I've heard. So it's maybe not the best frame of reference for the average person. It's a Holden reference, but so how the fuck do I know what 23-year-old Southern state jargon is, bro? Like, I'm not even going there. But what is interesting to me is this is a very candid song. And I find it, like, really believable in the sense that, like, he's clearly going through the struggles of success in his life. And he's clearly dealing with heartbreak and people not being loyal to him. And he is coping via drugs because of the environment of his situation. And as a 34-year-old man, how often do I get to hear what a 23-year-old feels, yo? You know, and it's really like that. As much as it's got a degree of whatever's happening in I guess, the standard nature of the bars, I do feel like this is an emotional landscape song. And what he's trying to do is paint almost a canvas of how he feels, to paint why he's scarred. And I think he does that really effectively. Like, no feelings no more. I'm out of luck. Like, yo, that's wild that this 23-year-old successful kid feels like that. That's a sad thing to hear if you're just being like human about it, you know? Like, that's the parts that really struck out to me was his pain. And I felt that pain. And I really feel like he brilliantly put that together into a song. Am I going to judge it under some golden era hip hop standards? Absolutely fucking not. But it's a really musical, beautiful experience to me, and I really enjoy listening to it. And I find I go through that a lot with that Southern drill-ish scene. It might not be drill. I don't fucking know my subgenres of hip-hop like that no more. No cap. Anyway, I like this a lot. It's like a 4.25. I don't know enough about the genre to go too much into the nuances of why I like it more, but I like this more than other things like this I've heard. Let's move on to Ready for It. What do y'all think about Ready for It?
I think it slaps. I think it's a nice follow-up to the last track. This is where I feel like he's basically kind of giving you that like hard flex. I'm the best. This is like, you ain't ready for me. Fuck the smoke. They say you ready for it. say you ready for the smoke. It's like if you say you want the smoke with me, let's say you ready for it. Like he's really just out here flexing. Like really just kind of proving to everybody that he put in the work and that he is essentially the best. Um I I don't really know what else to kind of say. It's pretty straightforward. Asking for that pressure, you gonna get it. That's what you begging for. We already won up. Tell them, bitches, look up, check the score.
Do you have commentary on those bars?
Not particularly.
Don't read all the
It
bars.
just kind of flows through and gives us that like, yeah, don't fuck with me if you're not ready to fuck with me type vibe. That's really what I got from this. I just left it with a 4 on 5. I ain't got much.
Yeah. So for me, like he's kind of just talking about that he has haters, but he's kind of ready for any trouble that anyone brings to him. He does kind of mention he's on lean again. He has guns and is ready for anyone who talks shit about him, and he's ready to like destroy whoever. And like he's kind of saying like we're already like ahead of like the people who hate on them, so it's like not a big deal, it's like whatever. And you know, he's not alone, he does have people around him, so he's kind of like, well, be ready to deal with it if you try to like come at me or whatever. So for me, like it was a good song, it was all right. I gave it a 4 on 5.
This shit slaps. Oh my gosh, it's so good. Again, I told y'all I'm a sucker for this. Yo, I'm already gonna be doing my little drill dance that like one I can do, the one with the foot and the stomp. That's the one I'd be really working on right now. Like I fucks with this heavy. Like that's the first thing I felt. Like the last song kind of was a little bit somber. It kind of came through with that energy, and then this, it like feels like the sadness kind of metamorphizes into a bit of anger, which if you think about being scarred, it is a complex mix of emotions, and if we're gonna explore the emotions like that, that's what I feel here. Like, yo, you think you can come from me? Blah, and it comes back with the full intensity of it, and it's reflected in the flow. It is more upbeat. This song is more dancey. So weirdly, actually, dancey is what I will picture in the future for this type of cover. Yep. The beat really is amazingly well produced. It kind of comes through with the vibe that makes you want to move. He rides the beat absolutely fucking perfectly. His flow is really immaculate. The melodies that he brings to his delivery, again, just from, it's almost like he's part of a band. It's like this synergy between, like, you know, I guess, yeah, what did I say? Like a band. I don't know why I'm making that more complicated. I feel like the structures are simple. Like, yo, listen, it took me a long time to get used to the fact that, like, choruses are going to be half a song and all that shit. Like, the old man in me is like, blah, where the bars at? But, like, end of the day, you could really sing that shit. And it's really fun, and it just repeats, and it's got, like, a vibe to it. And, like, yo, if I'm going out on my cycle, I might not play this one in public because I try not to play this type of shit in public. But, like, not because of anything other than it's just, like, you know, it's a little, there are kids around when you're cycling through the neighborhood type vibe. And, like, I just really enjoy it. For that kind of exercise vibe, for that kind of washing dishes vibe, like, yo, there's so many moods in my life where this sound just totally works for me. And I don't feel like there's anything he says here that is really all that different than some of the frustrations I feel when I consider the people who have talked shit about me, or the complications and the dramatic nature of the social politics that go into success, and having to like actually have had people be like, yo, look, bro, compared to that person, you're doing so much better. So like, it's not really that different than some of the emotions I go through. It's just manifesting in a lifestyle that I really don't live. I mean, I smoke a copious amount of THC, so the fuck am I gonna judge somebody with lean? I did see that Netflix shit, so the dad age in me is like, damn, that fucks up brain chemistries and shit. But like, I ain't never done it, so I'm not gonna judge it. And I understand that if you're in an environment where that's where it goes, that's unfortunately how a lot of people be coping through shit. A lot of people like drugs. I like drugs. I don't know about fully how to do responsible drugs. I personally understood my limits and addictions, but yo, if I had access to shit at 19, shit, man. If I was cooler at that age, I don't know what my life would have been like. I wasn't cool. I was like kind of in a corner by myself. So the fuck do I know about being popping at a young age, you know? I don't. It's not something I can really relate to. So to hear these experiences to me just creates like an empathy point. And the music slaps. Again, I'm not going to say like It's my favorite, but I would say this is like the last two. It's like this 4.25 range. Like I would actually put this on playlists for parties and shit where I know I need to have like some shit for when girls be around. Like this is on a when girls be around playlist. This is not necessarily on my scholarly intellectual shit, but this is a good song for a party, to be honest. Anyway, the next one doesn't have the lyrics, so watch how we go even quicker through it. It's called Cap. All right, what do y'all think about Cap? I don't have no cap in your responses, please.
I mean, I don't really have so much to say about most of these songs, so I'll just be quick and tell you. Um, so this one was just kind of like more. It was more like the same kind of vibe, and kind of just touching on like it just felt like more like a drug induced song about drugs. Like he's kind of talking about lean, he's talking about Percocet, Xanax, Benz. Like he kind of talks about like all of these kind of like these aren't necessarily like uplifting medications. Like these are like or medications or whatever. Like they're more downers, I guess. So it's more just to kind of like get away from like your away from everything and just kind of like I don't know. It like kind of is opposite of what the energy brings. You know what I mean? Like those kinds of drugs. So for me, it's not necessarily like something that I would ever put on, but it was okay. I liked it. It was fine. I gave it a 3.9 on 5.
I do agree. It has this like drug induced effect to it, and like kind of the way that the song, like his effects and everything kind of play out, show that too. But I think it's more to showcase how he's using these drugs to relax because he's super stressed out and he's like going through a lot. So what I got from this was he's definitely got trust issues. He's mentioned a couple of times that like people only call him when they need something, maybe it's money or a favor. They're not really genuine with him.
Yeah.
So I could see why he like maybe expressing certain behaviors like that. He also mentions at one point, like he kind of goes back about when his homies were like in the streets and doing certain actions that as well could be like stressing him out and just being weighing on his mind. So yeah, I feel like he's trying to like mediate this rage that's inside of him with all these downers in a sense, but he also is like acknowledging how this is like fucking him up. And in terms of just the cap, I mean, I think he's using it in a way to say that he feels like everybody's lying to him and he feels like everything is just cap. Like you're not really being truthful with me. So that's kind of what I got from this. I thought it was really cool. I felt this to be a little bit more polished than the other two, to be fair. Like it felt more cleaned up a little bit. And I left it with a 4.2 on 5.
Yeah, I've definitely fucks with this, and I feel like, again, if we look at this song, like honestly, like it's almost like going through the stages of grief and loss and shit, but like emotionally expressed out, and I think that's super nifty. You do get this big sense that people lie to him and trust issues. That was a big takeaway for me. That like people treat you different. Like all it becomes is what you can do for them, and it's like everyone gets kind of weirdly entitled around you. And anecdotally, I've experienced the smallest scale of that, so I can only imagine what happens when you can afford all the drip drip. And then when I was thinking about like the use of drugs and shit, I mean, the line that really struck me was more like, it's codeine make me concentrate. And I'm like, yo, like that's wild. Because like I don't picture the drug like that. Like I don't picture painkillers in the way that other people consume them. So the idea that people are using it to concentrate, or when he does mention perks make me relax, but I don't touch the Xanax, I thought that was interesting too, because fucked if I know the difference between fucking Xanax and Percocet in the context of habitual drug use. Fucked if I know, because that's totally not it. But it's like, yo, that shit just wasn't really around me when I was young. So, I mean, shit, nobody offered me joints. I was that kid. It wasn't like I was being invited to the circle. But now it's like later on in life, I just, I don't think I've ever even really done painkillers. So it's like the idea that you're living in this world where there's such a lack of trust, where everybody's almost commercializing the relationships in your life to a point where you can't trust the women because it's about commodities. You can't trust your homies because it's about being put on. There's so much, and then I just pictured everybody's high on this shit too. Probably you're probably not the only one that's fucked up, and maybe you can handle your drugs, but I don't know about you, but like I don't actually like I smoke a lot of weed, and I don't like smoking weed with most people because most people can't smoke weed like me. So it's like, cool, you're high. That's not really what I'm doing this for. So it's like not like it's like just imagine the different synergies of like the way drugs manifest and all of that. So that's kind of what I was thinking about while vibing to this track. The beat continues also to be really just upbeat and flow, and I feel like he just rides it, and all my past commentary just kind of follows on here. And what I think is really striking is because these songs are so short, they stream together in a way where you almost want to listen to the whole project. Like if you got this far, it's like, why are you going to turn this off? You're just going to finish it because it's like,
Yeah.
it's like one of those Jesus of Suburbia kind of songs, broken into multiple parts, but sewn together in a way where it's really just like an 18-minute track. And that's my takeaway. I could be wrong, but it's also sliced up so you can just listen to the parts you want. And I think that experience on it was really nice. This one is about 4.25. You're going to see I'm basically going to be very consistent because they really all hit me very similarly, and it really was enjoyable for me to listen to. So, I mean, that's all I got to say about that one. But I guess you already knew it. Yeah, this one is really cool. I just have to say, like, the way Chris pointed out on the last one, it felt more polished. I felt this one actually felt more polished in its construction, but not just that, like, the flows were really nice. The way he approaches that like really cool verse on the flow, and the way he says the word bitch in that really emphasized way, and then the way he just transitions from that really kind of off time flow into such a perfectly on time flow was super nice. And the overall melody and hook again is dope, with the song content being kind of like y'all be trying to tell me shit, y'all be like trying to express the different things of your flexings or your accomplishments or your gossip. At the end of the day, I already know what you're doing. It's cool, but I'm too busy making moves to be plugged in. And it's funny how I still already knew that shit because it is how it just goes. Like, it's just so what it is. And I felt that vibe off of it, which continues the overall narrative. And if you think about the songs in order of sequence, it really kind of makes sense, right? Like, it's a bit like after not being able to trust people, after kind of coming ready to engage back and everything, it's to the point where, you know, you're blowing up a bit and you're really just considering it, you're calming your emotions a bit, and you're realizing, yo, I'm here, I already know this shit, we already making these moves. That's kind of the vibe I took from it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
I'm at 4.25. Let's say a 4.35.
Okay.
I felt the same way. I mean, it really has. What stood out was, like you said, how the songs connect or like have this seamlessness to it. What I did think was cool is how he's really staying. It's really stating it's not what you do, but how you do it. And it like really kind of emphasizing like you got to have your own kind of spin to it, maybe your own uniqueness to it. Like anybody can do anything, but you have to do it in your own like authentic way. So I thought that was also super cool. I like the with like how we were saying the songs being polished and cleaned up. I feel like there's like an upgrade happening throughout the project too. Like every next track is just a little bit better than the last one, and it just keeps kind of going, and I feel this like type of growth through it too. So that's cool. I mean, I left this with a 4/5. It's just, it is what it is.
Yeah. I mean, this one, I mean, you guys kind of mostly covered it. It's, you know, he already knows about whatever like violence or whatever shit is already happening. Like he's already like ahead of the curve. Like he's already making the changes in his life, you know, whereas other people are like behind him a little bit. And he's doing what he needs to do to like make it. So for me, like I also gave it a 4/5. I thought it sounded fine. It's not like this whole album is not my cup of tea. But it's fine.
Just keep that in mind, people watching it in the future. She's doing her best.
Yes.
She running it. But yo, it ain't been the same since. All right, your lady friend Bonnie, how do you feel about this one?
But I just felt like he sounded very sad on this one. And that shit ain't been the same, and he maybe doesn't smile as much as he used to. Obviously something happened, you know, and since then shit ain't been the same. You know, he just kind of gets high and like it's, you know, his life is different from what it was. And it definitely sounds like he has his own struggles and, you know, like something impacted him and he's just trying to you know, figure his way to deal with that in the best way that he can. So yeah, that's what I took from that. I like the beat. I thought it was good. I gave it a 4 on 5.
Nice. Um, I feel like this is him now acknowledging that everything's changed. Just with the last two tracks with like Cap lying and then acknowledging that he's like kind of ahead of the curve with some people. This is like really, I guess, that day that he like, I guess, woke up and is like, yo, like nothing is the same anymore. Everything's changing. You know, like I'm losing friends. I'm losing, I guess, myself in some sort of ways. But I'm also like succeeding, but I'm trying to cope with that. More with that, like, you know, using, you know, self-medicating with drugs and stuff like that. So it's pretty solid, pretty solid, pretty short. You know, I left it with a 4 on 5.
I feel like y'all are not giving this song the justice that I feel this song deserves personally. Unlike the other ones, there's like nothing in this song I can't personally relate to on like a really deep level because it really kind of shies away from some of the more, I don't know if I want to comment on that bars because like, nah, this is like, yo, if I'm 23, I can't even get high today. I didn't even smile. I almost cried today. Like, yeah, bro. I know that. I know that. I know what it feels like. I know exactly those emotions. Then really like think about the beginning of the verse. I've been looking for faith. I'm going to tell you how I feel. I'm going to keep it real. See you fake when I look in your face. I'm like, I kind of wrote the same bars on my last project. Almost the same kind of exact topic matter. I'm like, hold up. I relate to what his emotional state is here. And that flow, like, I can't even get high today. The high today. Like, that's like a really, like, oh, say word. He be, like, three-noting that shit, you know? Like, it's like he's a little instrument in the way that his voice be delivering on this track. I feel like it's so gorgeous, his melodies and his delivery. And I kind of get why when you check his Insta, you see they have, like, a gold plaque on one of the tracks. Because, like, this is really talented.
Yeah.
From the musicality side of it all. If you're coming at it from the rap side of it all with the rippity rapidies, I can see why he's like, oh, no, this ain't bars. But I'm like, nah, I'm feeling this shit. I understand where he's coming from on these emotions. And I feel like he delivers them really candidly. And honestly, his language use is pretty clean. Everything he says is super clean. And when you really listen to it, it feels almost like this prayer. Kind of like the album cover, this whole project, like this prayer of please listen to me and treat me better. I just want to be treated better. And that's like a wild thing. Like you just want, like, it's almost like if you need drugs to be happy, like you in recognizing all this shit, like it's like he just wants to be in a better place. And I really understand that. And I really like that song is here. This shit's like a 4.5, 4.6 even. It's really well made and it's really great to listen to.
Nice.
And I think it also carries the project along. Like, I don't want to sleep on that theme. Like, he's scarred, and it almost feels like he's walking you through the emotional journey of what it is to be scarred for him. And it's really living up to the overall concept that he brought to the table. And that also is really cool for me. Anyway, it's not as cool that the next one's depressed, you know? Yeah, think about depressed.
So this one sounds like he's depressed. It's basically what it is. And it seems to be like he is mostly depressed from you know, a lady who hurt him, and you know that he had trusted this girl, and you know she played him, and you know that unfortunate story. But this one is also a little bit more like aggressive. Like I found, like it is more like expressive, and you know he's just kind of like angry and upset, and like all of these like negative feelings are making him depressed. So it's not necessarily like what he's doing. He's just kind of like, all these things have happened to me, and like that's what's making me depressed. So yeah, I gave this one another 4 on 5. I thought it was another fine one.
So I as well felt like he was dealing with a woman and just having like this, I guess, relationship issue. But what it felt more is like, I think he's like kind of snapping out because like he's explaining to her why he's depressed in a sense, and like explaining the situations and the experiences and the stories that have happened to him to cause him to be the way he is. um it's really more aggressive than the other tracks I found. It has that same, not the same, it has actually, I felt more energy to this song.
Yeah.
Just again with like that rage with it. um yeah, it was cool. I actually gave this a 4.25, 4.2 on 5. Thought it was good.
Yeah, I'm with you. I have
All
like
right.
less commentary because I feel like it's like everything I feel about this song is more or less the same as I felt about the last few. It is brilliantly put together, well composed songwriting, super tight, great beat. Shout out KP on the beat, apparently, according to Genius. And the thing I felt in this song was this sense of isolation, which has been kind of compounded with the trust issues and the different things that are going on. And it just kind of is, it's like this open letter of like, this is why I feel the way I do. And I feel like a lot of people might judge stuff like this without like really like considering what's being said here. But man, this isn't just like, oh, I'm doing drugs, or oh, I have guns, or nah, this is like, I'm in big pain and I don't want to feel this way, and these are the reasons why I feel this way. Can we please fix the circumstances in my life? I've really done a lot of introspection to figure it out. And I really respect that because he's just putting that into art, and that's such a productive way to deal with emotion. I don't have more to comment on it, but I feel the isolation in this one with the way people have treated him and the situation. I mean, it's a cool track. 4.25. I don't have more to say on it. I've learned to not drag shit out as much. So let's move on to Bad News, which I think has a video, or no, it doesn't. It just has
Oh.
lyrics.
Has-
All right, Chris, how you feeling about this one?
I mean, like, the song itself is good. The way he flows is good. Everything is good. I guess I'm just a little bit confused with like what I guess he's trying to express throughout the track. I understand that he's like frustrated and scared and he's waiting on bad news, and like I get that aspect of like I can relate to that when like you're waiting on, like, you're anticipating something and it's negative, so you feel like shook up inside and everything's like fucking you up. So I can get that, but like I felt like when going through it, I was like, oh, okay, so finding out your girl's pregnant may be like the bad news that you've been like anticipating or something like that.
I
But
mean,
then like the end
arguably,
where
she
like
doesn't trust him. He's trying to do work. She thinks he's fucking hoes. There's always constantly texts coming in. I get the sense that it's more like every day it seems like there's this influx of bad news coming in constantly in my life. Here's some examples of that.
Mm-hmm.
This is why I'm so fucking
Mhm.
stressed. Oh my gosh, even the drugs. I've been scratching lately. Now that's a line to overuse and, people not understanding it. People maybe don't get that he's on drugs, so they think he's allergic to it, and it's like, all of this sounds like bad news in a sense, like just an expression of why he feels there's bad news. So like, yeah, I don't know, that's how I took the lyrics. Bonnie said
fair
a few
enough.
times, so I
I
assume
mean,
she
yeah.
agrees.
Yeah. He just, he just wakes up every day, prepared to hear bad news. And, someone will get shot or some trouble will happen or something like that. And he's just kind of talking about that it's like just him and his boy Jay. I don't know who Jay is, but they're
Who's
friends
Jay?
and like they're in it and like they're I thought he said something about his friend. Anyways, maybe. But he's hustling. I like the beat. He does wish that he could call the girl that he trusts or trusted, but he hates her now, and she treated him badly, and like things didn't go the way that were that he thought they would. So that's what it is. I gave this one a 4.2.
Yeah, it's on my shoulder. I ain't
Yeah,
got no
same.
help, bitch. It's just Jay. So it's like, this is just me. Like, ain't nobody here. It's me, myself, and I
Okay.
running this. I mean, I didn't even talk about the beat, which is kind of more airy. I find. I feel like we've slowed down the energy a bit and like kind of absorbed the pain a little bit more on this one. And from a progression point of view, after being depressed, there's a bit of anger and frustration in this one, which kind of makes sense, right? You've absorbed all the darkness, and then it's almost like
Yeah.
you're fucking tired of that shit. like, oh my gosh, I can't handle it. And that's kind of what I
course.
feel. So like it kind of moves the story of the project along to that, and it really does tie into the last one, right? So like all of this is going somewhere because he let me do that. He set the album up in a way that made this like emotional journey kind of transparent to me, which is great sequencing. And I think it really is placed really well. And also the outro, just the way he, like, if you read it on the screen, it's like, oh, no, but like, that's some really good, like, melodic shit, like, you, call on you, or whatever. Like, he just really did his shit nice, and it just really felt proper, and, like, it wasn't over the top, and it isn't just, like, leaving the beat open for, like, 40 seconds. It's like, nah, he utilized that to leave the idea of me wanting to call on you and resonate and almost drive home the desperation of this shit. But then, a little pussy ass bitch don't call my phone. Like, though I don't really want to. I wish I could, though. Like, and that's some honest shit. I know everybody who goes through some hard times with their love partners when it's no longer a thing has gone through some shit like that. That's just some rebounding being single shit. And I really appreciate where he's coming from on that. Or maybe it's a homie. Or maybe it's a business relationship. Because, it turns out that shit feel the same no matter the context, right? And so it's like when you have those friends you wish you could call. And they're gone. And you just wish I could call on you. But they ain't the same no more. And it's just not the same no more. And I feel like that's a lot of what this project explores, right? Like, 'cause shit's not the same. Anyway. I thought it was another 4.25. This shit just keeps it running. There is the last one on this project, The Man in the Mirror. Let's get it. Hey, Chris, what do you think about the last one on here?
I think this was really cool. I like how there's this self-reflecting aspect to this song, and he's kind of acknowledging that, like, he's starting to see there's two sides of him essentially. He realizes that he's changed. He realizes that he's kind of starting to act different and maybe doing more drugs, kind of losing himself into that as well. But for me, it felt like a really good way to end the project and kind of like looking inwards in a sense. After expressing how he feels with a lot of stuff and getting like kind of venting and getting a lot of it off his chest, which is super valid. I like how he takes that, like, call it accountability and be like, I have to look at myself as well. Like, even though I have these issues, I got to look at myself. So that was really, really cool. I do agree that, like, once you get to like through the whole project, it's like, okay, there is this like story aspect. There is this like connection through everything there. And like Holden was saying earlier, like, he does kind of lead you somewhere. So that's super cool. I gave this a 4.2 on 5. I thought it was dope.
Yeah. I mean, he's definitely kind of like, reflecting. Man in the Mirror just makes me always think of like the Michael Jackson song. And that's just about, reflecting on yourself and making changes within yourself to make the world that you want. And that's kind of what he's talking about, that he doubted himself and he prayed to get rid of the pain that he was feeling and like suffering and like things like that. And that he was going, he was going like hard, like for what he believes, like, and he's adamant about, the success that he's going to have and like, the path that he's going to stay on. And he knows that he's changed, as people do. And, he does drugs, but he feels like the people don't care about how he feels. So he's just going to like kind of keep doing this sort of cycle of like just gonna keep doing drugs because people don't care. But like that's kind of what he's dealing with. Those are like his demons, and he's just going to like handle that the best way that he can. So it's an interesting like kind of conclusion to the album. It works. It's still like with like the same sort of like flow and energy and vibe. So I give this one a 4 on 5. I thought it was good. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I love the way he ends this because there is that introspection. But the other side of it, like you guys commented on like the drugs and this, but there is like this whole fuck all of y'all, I'm a winner and you're not energy to this. Like there is a big dick energy on this song that like, but it also feels like you whittled around everybody else, right? And that, because if you think about, again, the grieving process, what happens once you've done blaming the world for everything? You're just kind of left with the man in the mirror. And it is the acknowledgement of the strengths that come from it. So if you take it in the context of a breakup, you're usually a better person after. So after you're mad at everybody, after you've done your fuck 17 hoe shit, after you've done all that crap, and you're kind of like left with yourself and nothing's changing anything, you're left with acknowledging who you are and kind of growing from the experience and achieving even better greatness in your life. But through all of this, you know, like you can see he's really thought about how to move forward without repeating shit in a sense, but also acknowledging who he is in the process, or maybe just accepting that this is the way it is. And I don't know, it's so like open-ended in a sense, but really self-aware. And it takes it from being like whining per se, which maybe if he didn't have this song, you could say this is just a bunch of whining, but it's not. It's really this open expression, and this really creates this cohesive art piece. And this song is beautiful to me. It's another 4.25 ish. It's like a really great way to end the album, and I like the way that he manages to hit these different flows on every song. I mean, if we just talk about the album as a whole, right? Like every track, while similar, is different enough that it's audibly distinct. Like you can clearly tell which track is which when you hear them. And the fact that there is that emotional flow across it, and the fact that it does feel, like I said earlier, it's almost like one big song split up into a bunch of parts. Like you're supposed to listen to it as a whole. And I really think it's cool that he did this, because so often I'll talk to DJs or people who don't even believe people care about concept albums, and I'm keep being like, "Are you 2 today we reviewed? 2 in a row. This one was a random grab. We pulled it out of a hat, all things considered." And I think that's amazing.
Yeah.
It's a solid 4.25 project. I would recommend this to people into the more melodic side of things.
Yeah, I gave this the whole album overall a 4.03 on 5, so that's an 80%. So for me, like the overall sound was pretty consistent. So I like that, you know, that it is definitely like this vibe that you're gonna get. It isn't my favorite like subgenre of music, more just because it's like too depressing for me. Like I want something that is more fun and that I can dance to. Like I'm not really,
She's Queen Iggy.
you know, yeah, I'm not really in his mind, like dealing with all of that. But like I see that, you know, what its purpose is and like who it serves and like how it helps people and, you know, how it helps him like obviously get his emotions out. So I appreciate that. That's it.
I overall gave the project a 4.12 after doing the math, and I think I'm gonna have to sit with it for a little bit. I think that's what I would also tell people. Like, if you really like this sound, you really enjoy this, then yeah, like go for it. Highly recommend. You'll find something for you on this. But like, I think for others, it's like, hey, you have to, you know, you got to kind of sit with it a bit, because I had a little bit of trouble getting through a lot of the effects and the auto tunes. But when you really get into like the storytelling and really how he is expressing himself and kind of like crying out for help in a sense is pretty dope. So
basically, if you want to be an old man about this shit, get over yourself and see that there's actual art here. Yeah. Appreciate all of y'all watching this. Everybody who came through for the live. It's amazing that y'all do this. We'll catch you next week with another one. If you do want to watch this with us live on Twitch, where you can actually hear the songs, because the people in the YouTube land did not. Twitch.tv/BehindThatSuit. Sundays, 12 p.m. EST. Otherwise, thank y'all for watching this in the future. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. If you want us to do a particular album review, patreon.com/BehindThatSuit. On that note, is wonderful. Links in description for everybody. And show. Live long and prosper.
Bye.
Bye.